Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we are here once again. It is the Off the Dome show. I know it took me a second for me to pop up here. Working on this, okay? I am your host, Thomas Brown Jr. Boy, oh boy, do we have a special guest joining us in a little bit. So excited, very honored to be on the same screen as her on a relatively consistent basis now, especially as of late. Very excited to talk to her about a lot of the stuff that she's been able to do over the past few years being in sports media, and just get a chance to learn a little bit more about her. Very excited for that. Obviously, we still want to give a special shout out to the firefighters in LA. We know that just because it's been a week or been some time that's passed doesn't mean that y'all not still working out there. We greatly appreciate your hard work, the sacrifice that you make day in and day out. Does not go unnoticed over here. Greatly appreciate you. You look at some of the photos and you look at some of the live videos and things, and it just kind of, takes you aback a little bit of, just you being grateful for what you have, or just simply for the fact that, you're not having to experience X, Y, and Z. A lot of times we have a tendency to take those things for granted. And unfortunately for some people, it takes moments like, it takes tragedies like this for them to come to that realization, to appreciate the little things, to appreciate the things that could easily go wrong. And so, just want to take the time out to give some love and special kudos to the firefighters who are taking time out to put those fires out in LA. I know some people have lost their homes. Their whole lives have turned around in the opposite direction. What's crazy? I was talking to my cousin recently, and she called me, and the first thing that she said was, LA's on fire. I'm like, well, duh. But she was like, remember we was there back in April, and a lot of the places that we went to are in ashes right now. And I didn't necessarily think about that at first until like I actually thought about it, and I was like, wow, that is pretty crazy. That is pretty insane. And look, man, it's one of those things where, like I said, you just don't take this stuff for granted. You really don't. And that's just the truth of the matter. And that's it, and that's the way it goes. We have Ashmere joining us in a little bit. But I also want to let you guys know that Today's episode is sponsored by NFLshop.com. The NFL season is slowly but surely coming to a close. I can't believe I'm saying that already. Feels like not so long ago. It was like week 4. But don't let that be a reason for why you miss out. There is still time for you to grab yourself some gear to rep your team during this NFL playoffs. And it's never too late. Don't miss out. Visit NFLshop.com today and go grab you some merch to represent your team. Now, of course, the excitement isn't too high when your team isn't in the playoffs or didn't make the playoffs altogether. But nevertheless, you don't want to sell yourself short. So again, visit NFLshop.com today to represent your team. All right. Now, I am honored. I am privileged to have an opportunity to interview one of my mentors, if you will, in this space, in this profession. She has done a lot for Team MBS Media. She has hosted, she has produced, she has analyzed. She has done quite a bit in this space, but this is not all that she does. There's a lot more that she does on the side, and just a lot that she does in sports media that doesn't get talked about as much or doesn't get a whole lot of limelight. And I just want to take this opportunity, which is a very rare opportunity because she doesn't really like talking about herself, but I'm kind of forcing her to be outside of herself today because this show is basically about her. So I want to take the moment and the opportunity to give my wonderful Ashmere Prasad welcoming to the show.
Thank you, Thomas.
Absolutely. Absolutely. The audience loves you, as you can tell.
Thank you. That was cool. I like the audio.
It's nothing crazy. You deserve it. Ashmere, like I've told them, you are one of the you're one of the diamonds in the rough, if you will, being in this space. You do a lot of things behind the scenes that people may know or may not know. And I just want to take this opportunity to just have you share with us what your sports media journey has been like and what all it has entailed for you altogether.
Yeah, sports is a crazy world. I mean, like, whether you're doing it on Team NBS Media or if you're doing it professionally, it's all about like what you put into it. And so I feel like that's what I've been taking advantage of is the opportunities that I'm given and taking advantage of them because I mean, sports are every day. They're in every season. Even if the NFL is done, the draft is around the corner. And then the 3 weeks you get off, it's WNBA time. Like, there's just always a sport to be covered. And I feel like that's why the more you do wherever you are, and I know that a lot of people don't agree with that, but I feel like that's just the only way to keep myself accountable is to like make sure that I have projects in my pocket, right? So that I know I will be on top of the news or on top of content creation or utilizing different platforms because so many things are coming and going. Like Canva came and like changed the design space. It changed my life, literally, made me a better graphic designer, if you would. And yeah, and then there's short form, like TikTok blew up and then TikTok may be going away. So then Reels still exists and YouTube Shorts, right? So it's just like the more that you put yourself in positions for, the more opportunities you'll get. So that's definitely what I've been doing.
Okay, absolutely. I think an easy takeaway from what you just said is, and this is one of the qualities that I kind of admire about you more than anything, is your ability to adapt and to adjust. Because there's a lot of things that you probably think is the status quo, and it's like, okay, we still have to prepare for X, Y, and Z because we don't know what W is going to do over here.
Mhm.
So you're always changing and adapting and adjusting to different, different avenues, different types of shows that you conduct, or different types of ways that you go about doing the content and things of that nature, which I've always appreciated because I think it's an underrated aspect, especially in this space, that you either have the capability of doing it or you don't. um, and I like I've seen you over the years, just kind of like, okay, we're gonna pivot here, we're gonna pivot here again, we're gonna pivot back one more time. Okay, I know we're right back here, but we're gonna pivot again, which is really really cool. So I guess what I want to ask you is how how were you introduced to wanting to be a part of this profession, and what has been like your biggest motivator, if you will, to keep pushing to do this every day?
Uh, First, I want to say thanks for giving me all my flowers because you're right. I don't talk about anything that I've done really because I feel like I'm always making stuff here.
Right.
But I got into sports from my mom. My parents were huge sports fans. I come from a house divided, a Niner fan and a Raider fan.
Jeez.
And my mom was always going to the Raider games with my dad, and she like knew everything. And I was like, all the my dad's friends were like, Cash is so cool, like she knows everything. And so I was like, Mom, how do you remember, like, why do you know all this? And she's like, I just love football. I love hanging out with everybody. Like, I just love being a part of something other than going to work every day, right? And so
Mhm.
that was really exciting. But in school, I actually wanted to be a marriage and child psychologist. That was like my original dream. Yeah, I was
Really?
going to school to study like psychology. And then I was like intimidated by the fact I had to get a master's. And so at that point, I was like, maybe I'll do something else. And that's when I was talking to my friend at the time, and they were like, you're really great with people. You love sports. Like, maybe you could go into journalism. And I was like, shoot, I don't even know if I'm that good of a writer. So
Right.
I went into the program at Oregon, and I mean, their journalism school is like so cool. They have so many different opportunities. You could go PR, broadcasting, marketing. Like, there's just so many things you can do. And yeah, I did the radio station there for a little bit. And once I graduated, I just like, I didn't know what to do. I actually worked in HR because I wanted to make money. And I didn't realize how competitive the sports world was. Like, it's crazy out there. And
Yeah.
at the time, we had the Raiders here and the A's were here. So there was 6 Bay Area teams that I could have worked for, and I didn't get hired by any of them. And so at that point, I was like, okay, I'm just going to start this blog. And then my friend sent me Team NBS Media. And then I met Joe and Marissa, and they were just so inviting and excited. And I was like, I want to do camera stuff. And Joe's like, I don't know what YouTube is. Like, you could figure that out on your own. And I think just like the relationship I've built with the team here is really what keeps me going every day. And also like the fact that there's not many brown women, like Indian women doing it, that's also a huge force. And just telling fun stories, unique stories, and focusing on like bringing sports back to the people. I think that's what's definitely driving me.
Oh wow. That's okay. I do want to go back to the psychology aspect. I
Yeah.
did not know that. So what was the um you were going to school for marriage and child psychology. So
Mhm.
what was um the motivating factor behind that? Like what intrigued you about wanting to pursue that at the time? Do you remember what that was?
Yeah, I always felt like I was helping people. I don't know. And I mean, Indian families have so much history. So, of course, there's going to be a little drama that's tied with it. And so, when I was young, I was like, I feel like I should help somebody else navigate through the problems of being in first generation brown woman in America, or maybe third at this point if I pursued it. and just help them feel confident. And also, like, I love children, so I thought that would be very fun.
All right.
Even though it's
Wow.
you're in a very sensitive part of their life, but I thought I could do it.
Okay. Okay. Cool. So, I think, and I want to dive into this as well because I think a lot of times, um, we we do these shows, we write articles for some, we do content on different platforms, TikTok, Instagram, X, and all these different areas. Um, and for a lot of people, it could seem like it's a lot of work to do, and it could be very draining for some, and some people have to take hiatuses. I
Mm-mm.
don't know what the plural word for that is, but um hiatuses, I guess is the word that I'm going with. I don't know. They take these little breaks to try to get themselves removed from the day in and day out grind of having to be a part of this space. So I guess the question I have for you is, do you ever have moments where you've either had taken those breaks, or B, have you ever had the thought of like, I don't want to even chance that because I don't want to lose momentum or whatever the case may be? Like, have you ever encountered that before?
Yeah, I mean, I barely post on TikTok. So I think I'm experiencing it right now,
Okay.
because I'm not working in a full-time role. And I put that in quotes because that's like not a determining factor of anybody, just saying that I have a lot of free time. And so
Mhm.
I have had the opportunity to take the break, but it's very overwhelming in this world of social media to like be your own hype woman. I feel like I'm very good at hyping other people up. And so I'll post like 5 videos and be like, I'm doing a great job. And then I'll take like a break. And that's really not how you can work. So I do give myself a lot of breaks. And I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I'm just growing at my own pace. So everyone else that posts as much as they can and they dedicate time off, it's a different beast in sports because you could batch content. Like I could batch the games that are going to happen this weekend, of course, and
Mhm.
talk about them and then post them. But if something crazy happened today, like the Warriors made a huge trade, I would need to do that immediately, right? Like there's
Right.
just so much uncertainty, which makes it fun. But of course, I think that's how people can feel like they burn out. So because of the uncertainty of like headlines that come out.
Yeah, definitely. Like, I know for me, I think I think in total I've may have taken maybe 2 to 3. um, I feel like I might be miscounting. Joe might remind me after this show is over. That's totally fine. But I I, I know that I know it was challenging for me because I know that the energy and the emphasis behind the personality that I bring to everything that I do does take a lot out of me. And if I am not mentally capable of being able to put my best foot forward out there, I'd rather not be out there at all.
Sure.
And so there were a lot of moments and times where there could be a show that I was a part of, or something I was doing with TikTok or something where it was like, yeah, it felt like I was in stride, but it something felt like I needed to take that step back to get it together. And it's like, you had your fair share of people that's like, you still got to push through. It's it's not. What's the phrase? Rest is not for the weary or for the weak or something along those lines. Like I hear all of that. And so like for me, like I have to take breaks, and people be like, "What? Like why now? Or why this?" And it's like all these life changes is why.
Yeah.
Like there's so many different things that happen on a day-to-day basis outside of this that not a lot of people get to see or get to recognize or get to, discuss or whatever case may be, that I personally have to deal with in my own space in my own time. And like I feel like when it comes to this or whatever profession it may be, I feel like a lot of times people miss out on the aspect of the human element
Mhm.
that comes with this. So yes, we may be in front of the camera, but I'm pretty sure like you and I, by the time this whole show is over, I have a bill to pay, I have a job to go to, and I have food to eat, and I have stuff to take care of.
Yeah.
Like it's not, you know what I'm saying? So I guess what I'm asking you is that have you ever experienced any if you feel comfortable to share any life changing experiences that may have halted you in your efforts to want to do content or to do any shows or anything along those lines? Have you ever experienced that before?
Yeah, I mean, I've been unemployed twice in this industry and in the regular tech world. I used to work in recruiting, so I got my contract ended in that. So I think you're your own motivator, and I
Mm,
feel like that is so hard, but I don't know. I last year I was pretty bad on myself. I was super negative. I didn't believe I was going to make it, especially after I lost my job. I was like, am I even going to get back into the industry? But the growth that you like, that hill that you're standing at, you literally don't know what's on the other side. And
mhm.
so I was just standing at the hill for like half of last year. And I think that that made me wake up and realize like I'm not putting in all this effort for nothing. Like I still have something that I want to achieve, whether it's in a big space or in a small space. So I feel like the the aspect of not having a full-time job is like so tied to like success, and I think that's what I realized wasn't my determining factor.
Okay.
It didn't determine my worth of how I was going to be hired in the next role that I get into, because I still had so many opportunities in 2024 thanks to Team NBS. I got to cover BFC in their inaugural season. They went to the playoffs. Like that's something that not many people get to do, and cover women's soccer when it is up and coming, same as women's basketball. And so to be on that in the beginning and make the relationships I mean, like that is something I didn't even consider, right? Because it wasn't a full-time job. So I do think that we don't need to have these things stopping us. And I don't think that I said that correctly, but the way that we face obstacles is like you can have a really bad day and you can have a really bad week, but don't let the weeks turn into months and then you're standing at the bottom of the hill, not realizing that you could get over it. You can
Right.
really make it over that hill. So, yeah, I think that answered your question, but I feel like I was the only person stopping myself in any of these hiatuses that you're explaining. Like I'm I'm grateful to be financially smart, you know, like I hustled in my 20s.
Yeah.
I worked two jobs the whole time, so I saved some money like to be in this place to be unemployed twice. I feel like not many people can say that. So I
Mhm.
definitely learned like at the end of last year that like I am my own problem.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's that's such a level of accountability that only a few is capable of having.
Yeah. I mean,
um
it took me all of 2024 to realize it.
so it took you a whole calendar year.
Yeah.
Um yeah, that's remarkable. I think wow, that's incredible. Cuz I know me being as young as I am, I don't think I realize the the beauty of like trying to get in as much as you possibly can, no matter what it is. I had somebody tell me the other day, like they was like, okay, so you had the show on Wednesday, then you have this on Friday, then you're doing stuff on Sundays as well, and then you have stuff that you're doing on Saturdays too, and then you have stuff on Tuesdays with your other podcast. Like, how do you ever have time to just like, I don't know, slow down? And
Yeah.
I'm like, I can't answer that. Because it's like every single time that you pop on the screen, it's like you're building your resume. I'll never forget my dad told me one time that when you're at work every single day, you are building your resume. And I didn't really understand that when I was younger and he told me. But as I'm older and I'm, doing this and I actually have a, full-time position now, it's like every single day is an opportunity for you to build your resume. And it's like, so that's why, as much as I love to take every single opportunity I can, I also am aware that if there's an opportunity for me to kind of like scale back and chill out,
Sure.
I can, because I've earned it. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's why I don't mind having to pick up and do so much as often as I do. I know for you, I feel like it may be a little bit different for you because you've you know if I'm not mistaken, I believe you've been in Bay Area's NBC, if I'm not mistaken, at one
Yeah.
point. Okay, so you've had these opportunities where you've been in the studio or been close to that environment in that space, to where you can experience some of those moments that very rare people can do, even with a degree. And so you always have these moments where you feel like you like always had to do, always had to do, always had to do. And then it's like, okay, at what point do we just scale back? And so I think that's why I appreciate when I get on Moving to Change with you a lot, because first of all, for starters, think about the time that we start the show.
Yeah, I'm up
Okay,
at 8 a.m.
you're up at 8 a.m. your time,
Yeah.
right? And so you are up at 8 a.m. You are setting the show up. You are producing the show. You're hosting the show. You're kind of like, I told somebody the other day, I'm like, you're kind of like the quarterback of the whole show, because you get to dictate when the topics happen, when they stop, when they cut short, when we're going to break, and then when the whole show is over.
Yeah.
So, so you hold a lot of keys, if you will. And I guess the next question that I have for you is, do you ever have moments where you feel like, you know, this is too heavy of a mantle to carry? Like, it would be nice if there were others that would help supplement me in these roles, so that way it's not so overbearing on me. Do you ever have those moments?
Yeah, I mean, everybody wants a producer. Like,
Yeah.
it's like one of the joys, one of the pleasures, you would say, especially
Mhm.
when you see the numbers go up when we're live and we're hitting like 100, 200 people. And I'm like
Right.
fumbling to find the audio that I want to play, right? Like, I feel like it kind of distracts how I'm presenting. Because I mean, we want these people to keep watching Team NBS Media like every Sunday. We want them to be like, oh, Jeff and Joe and Ashmere, I like watching them. They're cool. So I do wish that somebody could help me with that. But I think it's helped me in the content space. Like, I'm making cool graphics, even though they're up for like 14 seconds. And we're talking in the background of them. So it probably doesn't look the best. It's like Sam Darnold and a stagnant post. But I think the producing part for sure, that'd be cool.
Yeah. Yeah. I have to bring this up as well, because I've had a lot of people hit me up about it. Um we had the recent episode of the Moving to Change, where there was a moment in there where Jeff and I had our shenanigans on full display.
Oh,
And,
yeah.
and I had somebody ask me, like, where do y'all get this fun from at like this early in the morning? And I openly responded and was like, you either have it or you don't. I think you have to make the most of it while it's there, because I mean, in a space like this, like, you get to dictate how people view you as, if you will. So if you want to be the stoic guy that's like stern and doesn't say much, then that's how people are going to view you, and that's how people are going to see you. If you are the high pitched talk over everybody, like it's a debate show, that's how everybody's always going to see you. Like, that viewpoint, unless you completely, pivot, that's how you're always going to be viewed, and that's how you're always going to be perceived. And I guess the question I have for you is, when moments like last Sunday happens where it's on the spot, it's not planned, and it's just completely fun all the way around. How in the hell do you navigate through that knowing that we might be on a time crunch or you want to try to move on to the next thing? Like how do you push through that? Because I know it's not easy and probably annoying as hell.
I feel like I learned so much from Jeff every day. Like Jeff is somebody I love listening to, I love learning from, and he deals it in like simple terms, but he's like, come on, you know? And when he makes the graphics funny or he makes, you know, he just throws his own personality and stuff, I'm just letting it ride because I think a lot of people on that support this brand come back for Jeff because he is so knowledgeable, he's so down to earth, he's just real. And so I like it. I personally think that that's what makes doing content like this or freelancing in a place where you kind of get the flexibility to talk. I think it makes it fun. Now, I'm not clipping it all when we're reposting on social media, but I think in the real time conversation that's happening, it's great. But when I'm trying to get like clips that matter to repost, then I'll be selective. But I feel like I just let it run. Like I learn everything from the team that I'm doing the show with all the time, no matter who's on. I'm picking up facts, stats. Like I just learn differently in those shows. And so I'm just letting it ride.
Okay. All right.
You don't have to control everything, right? Like it's really not that serious. As long as nobody's swearing or like putting somebody down or you feel like there's tension, like somebody said something and that person is getting irritated because they're kind of bringing their fan side into the conversation, then I'm like, okay, you know what? Let's reel it in. But that's never happened.
That's never happened? You never experienced that ever? Okay.
No.
Wow. Sheesh. I'm trying to think now.
We have a good crew, you know? I know you know that.
Yeah, we do. We do. I'm trying to think if there's like moments where like
I don't think anybody would want to put me in that position, you know?
No. I think that's the key.
Yeah. Like they're like, I don't want to make Ashmere feel weird, so I'm just gonna. Or if they say it, they're like, you know what? Let's just move on. Like they'll divert the conversation, but it's literally never happened. And I've worked here for like 4 years. So.
3-4 years, right? Okay. Yeah. I don't think. Yeah, that's just not something we do.
Yeah.
But that's cool. That's an element that not a lot of, sports media companies or media companies in general can say that. And it's a small aspect, but it goes a long way. Definitely. We are going to take a commercial break. We will be right back with you. It is the Off the Dome show with a special guest interview, Ashmere joining us. We'll be right back with you, baby.
In 2006, we founded Yeti Coolers with a simple mission: build the cooler we use every day if it existed. One that was built for the serious outdoor enthusiasts rather than for mass discount retailers. One that could take the abuse we knew we'd put it through, out in the field and on the water. One that simply wouldn't break. We decided early on that production innovation would come from necessity and first-hand experience, not from market research and data analysis. Today, Yeti products perform when it matters most. Whether that be an excursion into the remote Alaskan wilderness, chasing redfish on the Gold Coast, or just getting together with friends in the backyard, we make gear that helps you stay out longer, travel farther, and live harder. # built for the wild.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to the Off the Dome show. I am your host, Thomas Brown Jr. Joining me in a special guest interview is Team MBS's very own Ashmere Prasad. Ashmere, it is. I'm still trying to get used to this. Okay, this is a prestigious honor. For those of you who are homegrown Team MBS media fans, if you will, the reason why this particular episode is near and dear to my heart, because back in 2020 we Ashmere was starting a little mini series, if you will, documenting everybody in their perspective of what it was like being in quarantine. It was actually called Quarantales, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
And I was one of the first ones, I believe, that she interviewed, and I'll never forget it. I had it on my phone, so of course the video quality did not look too great. And it was obnoxiously funny. But she decided to interview me and gave me a chance, and I don't think I screwed it up. I might have not. But hindsight, I don't think so.
It was called Quarantales. Like, we're just learning about you, which I think is a very clever name when I came up with it.
It was a very clever name. I gotta say, I gotta give props for props to this dude. That was really good. That was really good. So this is a full circle moment for me. This is coming back full circle to be able to do this. Okay. I wanna dive a little bit deeper today. So obviously, depending on what profession you do, regardless of what profession you do, right? We all have these, I guess you could say, these aspects about ourselves that get in the way in some way, shape, or form when it comes to our jobs or what we do on a daily basis. And this might be heavy, so bear with me. But I know that for some people, by some people I mean me, a lot of times when it comes to doing this, regardless of what it is, whether it's a show or doing content or whatever the case may be, sometimes I have issues with anxiety, depression to a certain extent. But it all comes in different wavelengths. Like, it's not all the same thing. And it comes in different angles at different moments and times. And so I guess what I want to ask you, Ashmere, is do you encounter something similar to that, as you do the work that you do? I know you mentioned with having to deal with the lows of you being unemployed twice has affected you in more ways than one. A, and B, do you ever have a moment where you kind of sit back and reflect on all that you do and look at it from a perspective of, like, come a long way. Did not have to be this way. It could have definitely been the other way around. Like, have you ever experienced those aspects of doing this at all?
Yeah. I mean, when I stopped working at NBC, I was like the lowest of the low because I was working at the Mecca of the Bay Area sports hub. And I didn't know if I could get any better than that, which is a lie. You can always level up. But at the time, I was thinking like this was going to be the breakout time for me, and this was going to take me to the next level in my career. And so when that didn't happen, and then, my time ended there, I was just like, what's even the point? Like, not many people are going to know that you worked at the place that you've watched your entire life is like something I didn't even fathom could happen. And then to interview the fans in the stands, like be there for the finals. I got to go to Summer League and just do so many things through the NBC title. It was like surreal. And so then after that fell through and things ended, I was very sad. I just didn't know how to pick myself back up. And so that just takes me back to like last year, right? Like I just didn't know how to pick myself back up. I was making content. I didn't like it. I was trying to do something that wasn't me. And so I just kept making things. And I was like, bro, this is not even how I talk. Like, this is not how I'm going to talk about football or basketball or, anything. And so I just like did a pivot and I went dark in a minute. And then I made a TikTok in November talking about how November was the most depressing month I'd ever had. And I was like, all I did was talk negatively about myself. All I did was like just hate on myself. And then I made a promise in December to post Vlogmas, which we know influencers do all the time. And so I was like, I'm going to do a Vlogmas, even if I'm just waking up, drinking my athletic greens and then watching the nanny all day, right? Like whatever. It's a day. It's a vlog. And so I did like 12 days. I wasn't that consistent. It's hard in the holidays, you know, like when you don't know how these influencers do it. Cause I don't know how they film, like they're eating dinner with their mom. They're like, hold on, mom, gotta post this. Like,
right.
But yeah, so I did feel I was down. I mean, I was down for at least a year and a half. And then I came around literally in November and I was like, I didn't have this dream and I didn't have this vision for nothing. So I'm just gonna do it in the way that I would want to do it, which is just like consistency and being real. Like I posted a video that's kind of trending right now that I was the only girl. I went to watch the games on Saturday with my guy friends because I don't really know any girls in the Bay that care. And I have like 50 comments of women saying like, oh my God, I want to come next time. And so there's no trending audio. Like I didn't put anything crazy on there. I just was like, I'm a girl watching sports with the dudes because that's all I have. And now I think I'm going to like host a girls' day, right? Watching football. So it all just like unfolds as long as you literally wake up and you treat each day as its own. I'm not saying every day I wake up and I'm like, I'm on it. That's just not how life works. So having depression and having anxiety in any job is so expected because the growth pathway that we're like spoon fed, like you really need to drive towards a promotion, drive towards a different job title or full-time work, right? Like all this stuff exists from the past ways that like a work-life balance has been. And so I think that is something that everyone today is trying to beat out of themselves a little bit. Like you don't have to feel like you're attached to your job to define who you are. I think my sister said it. She was like, my job like funds my life. My life isn't my job. And she has like a standard 9 to 5. Like she knows that she's doing good work. People appreciate her personality and she does what she does, but she's trying to go to Europe in June, like, and the job is getting her to Europe, right? So things like that. You just like, you know what you're doing and we don't have to put everything at such a like high standard and making yourself feel so underperforming when that's not the truth.
Yeah, definitely.
It takes a while though. Like you really have to make yourself believe it because my friends have told me all this time, I'm going to support you no matter what. Like they're always like, can't wait for you to be on TV. Like they're like totally in it. And I'm like, I don't even think that's what I want to do. And they're like, no, that's not real. Like, you know, you want to do it. So everyone's going to like stir off the path, but if it's really what you want and that's how you want to be a CMO, you want to be the chief of marketing at a cool biotech company, what's stopping you, right? Like, so I think that's in the past, 60 days, I've just like decided not to be mean to myself. And that's like the first step that you could take.
Absolutely. I think for me as well, like I have moments. I don't think I have days anymore. I just have moments. Like I have, so my thing is that my path would be insane because I didn't go to school for this because breaking news, everybody. College is expensive. Just wanted to put that out there. So I didn't go to school for this, but I know that this is what I wanted to do. And I found out that this is what I wanted to do very, very late. And I don't even know if I want to use the term very late, but in comparison to like, you know, those who got out of high school and realized off rip that that's where they wanted to go and that's what they wanted to do. Like I was not in that crowd. When I got out of high school, it was just like, I know I want to do something sports related. So of course my dumbass thought it was a great idea to go to college. It was a college of Southern Maryland that I went to at the time when I got out of school for sports medicine. I'm gonna tell you right now, one thing's for sure, two things for certain. I don't know I want to affiliate myself with anything sports medicine related. I didn't realize that, but I know that I wanted to do something sports related. And I wasn't, I didn't want to take the chance of me going out of state because I didn't want to know what that lifestyle was like. I was a scaredy cat, whatever, cool. And so on and so forth. So, I have moments where it's like, you look at the ESPNs of the world, you look at Fox, and you look at all these different podcasting networks, where it's like, this guy got a degree and this guy has 2 degrees and that person has been in media for 10 years and has been in this for 15. And it's like, it could be so discouraging because it's like, you didn't take that route. And it's not that you can't take that route. It's just that you literally can't afford that route right now. So it's like, you're trying to maximize as much as you possibly can, given what the cards are dealt to you. And like it's like I said, I have my moments where it's like damn, man, like, am I really gonna see this through? I know for me, my biggest goal for this year in particular is I want to get to a point to where I could interview a former player, NBA, NFL. Like, I want to be able to have that as something that I was able to do. Whether it happens or not, we shall see. But it's the fact that, like, when you think of those big ass dreams that you want to accomplish, and you're thinking, okay, maybe it's not realistic, and then you see other people who like come out of nowhere on TikTok or on YouTube or wherever, and they are interviewing The Rock, and they're interviewing Logan Paul, and they're interviewing like, I don't know, the list goes on and on. It's like, where did you come from?
Yeah. I'm sure you've seen like the children that are at the Emmys or the Oscars or the sideline. They're like 9 years old. Okay.
Yeah, I'm like, they don't know what they don't know. Like, what is going on?
They just know they ask questions. Yeah. I think that little girl that's like super famous for style, I can't remember her name, but she was like, Jasmine, I love your style, right? That's her thing. Yeah. So, I mean, it can happen at any age at this point. You just need a camera and a microphone.
Yeah. So I mean, like I said, like, I think a lot of the moments is you watch other people and you just try to compare. But I've also learned too, which is kind of where a lot of people have seen me have a lot of fun with all that I do, regardless of what it is that I've eliminated that aspect from me. So it's like, okay, you do understand that this is your path. You do understand that it's not ideal, but do understand that that's exactly what it is. Have fun with it. Make it as much as you would want it to be. And, so what? It's not, leading you to, you having to take pictures with, I don't know, Rihanna or something like that. Like, so what? Like, just the simple fact that you are constantly able to give yourself a chance with every platform necessary is the best thing that you can do. Like, I think the best way my dad put it one time was that, when it came to applying to jobs, he was like, you kind of already tell yourself no if you don't apply. So,
sure. That's good advice.
Yeah. So at least if you apply, you give them the opportunity to tell you no, versus you just not doing anything at all. And they just say, yeah, we don't even know you because you never applied. So no, by default. Have fun. So yeah, there's so many different layers, and like I said, like, this is the human element that I don't think a lot of people, put a lot of spotlight on. And some people are kind of private about that, and I understand that, but it just goes to show you that when we do these shows and we write these articles and we are part of these different moments, whether we're at a game or interviewing and stuff like that, like, this is some of the intricacies that we have to deal with internally before this screen pops up and before the lights are bright. And if we don't check ourselves and aren't aware of that, we end up screwing ourselves over. And whether we acknowledge it or not, it will show. So that's large part why I'm discussing this is because there's a lot of layers to this.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're not careful and you're not paying attention, it will eat you up and it will spit you out. And that'll be it, and that'll be all.
For sure.
So we got the NFL playoffs here. We got the games tomorrow and Sunday. Big time matchup between Baltimore and Buffalo. But I want to ask you, out of all the teams that are left, which team do you think has been and I'm asking you as a Raiders fan, so I want you to preference this.
You have to tell everybody that.
Hey, look, man, you got to embrace.
I'm just kidding. If they watch the show, they've heard enough.
Yeah, you got to embrace the black and silver. So what I want to ask you is, what is a team so far in the playoffs that you feel like gives your fandom hope that there's a chance that your team can turn it around? What team is that for you?
I mean, it's obviously the Commanders, right?
Commanders,
like
yeah.
You get a head coach that comes from success. He believes in the team. They draft high. They draft well. I mean, they already had these pieces.
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of torn between the Texans and the Commanders, but I think Jaden Daniels is like a special piece, so I feel like it's kind of a cheat code. But Terry McLaurin was always there, right? Like,
yeah.
And he was just looking for somebody to throw the ball into his hands at all times. So I'm torn between the two of them because I think the Texans, like DeMeco Ryan came from success, and then he just completely ran with what he knew and gave his team hope. He's like riding with them day in and day out. So I think both of those teams, I think it's hard because you like really depend on the quarterback position, right? Like I think using both of those as examples is like Jaden Daniels really trusts himself. Like he's got that Lamar style in there, but he can also dime and that's just crazy and fun to watch. And then the Texans, even though last year they were great, this year's been iffy. Same idea. CJ Stroud, they got him high, and then they just like built a team. They had like the team kind of around them. So if these Raiders guys that played well to close out the season are still there, and then you bring in a good quarterback, a nice head coach, a better offensive coordinator, right? Like, because it's essentially a brand new bunch of guys that either worked together before or they just understand what their mission is here. I think that can change, but there's just so much drama in the Raiders franchise. I don't understand. Like they're supposed to be the coolest franchise, the scariest franchise. Instead, they're like the dingiest one.
Yeah. I think if I had to think of a team for you guys, I would go with the Lions. Like, think about it, right? Like an historically bad franchise. Like any other time outside the last 2 to 3 years that we heard the team Detroit Lions, they were a joke. We did not view them. We did not respect them. We thought that they were just a laughingstock of the league, and rightfully so. But literally, they make a trade where they swap at quarterback. They draft very, very well. They got the front office right. I think Brad Holmes, what he's been able to do in the draft picks that he's made this year and last year has been incredible. And then like a lot of these guys are homegrown. Like you said, with McLaurin being in Washington, Penei Sewell has been there for a little bit. He was there back in 2020. So, I mean, you can't, I mean, I don't know if you want to equate him as a veteran per se, but he's been on the roster for a little bit. Like he was here before, they started winning 10 plus games. Right. And I say the Lions because like they don't have like a superstar. Like we love St. Brown. We love Jahmyr Gibbs, but do we put him in the conversation for the best wide receiver or the best running back in the league? Depending on who you ask. Like, now top 5, yes. But as far as you being like undoubtedly number 1, you got to factor in this person, that person, that person. And they don't have that on any side of the ball. So, I like the fact that they built their team through the draft and they took their time. They were very patient. Like Dan Campbell was their head coach. They did not win 10 games right away. They started off being, I think it was 0-8-1 at one point or something crazy like that. And everybody was like, oh, I guess Dan is one and done. And then they was just like, nah, just hold on tight. We're going to figure this out. And then it turned into 8. And then they pushed the Packers with Aaron Rodgers riding out of there. And then you had last year, and then we have this year again. It's just really incredible to see. And I just think that when you see teams who are able to build their rosters in the manner that they have, like, it's kind of
I think that's why I use the Texans and the Commanders, though, because the Lions gave themselves time, right? Commanders and Texans, they did too, but like a little less time. Does that make sense? Like,
yeah.
I mean, less time. And Antonio Pierce was just cut with Gardner Minshew and AOC starting halfway, and AOC's kind of injured. So you have your other backup. It's just like, and then he's fired, right? Like last year, the team is riding with him at the back half of this season, and then he's let go. Like he didn't even get to, we talked about it in the Moving the Chains. Like you don't get enough time to see what can happen in the first 8 weeks, which really matter, rather than the back 8 weeks that nobody is worried about anymore, right? Like there's already established as who is the team to beat and who is the best in the division. So I think that's why I picked those other teams, because they moved people. Like they were like, okay, it's not working. Time, like kind of did the same thing as the Raiders, but Sheila Hamp from the Lions, like she was like, hold tight, like how you're saying. It's going to come to fruition. Like what I'm working on is going to build out. So that's the one thing Raiders are not doing. It's like giving time. Like I know everyone's like, we don't have time, but sell Max Crosby then and just make time. You'll have time. And I know you don't want to hear that, but he'll give you draft picks and he'll give you time to build something. You're in the 6th stadium that people from all over the country are flying to. Like, please just win more games. That's all we're asking. So
yeah.
That's definitely why I use them too. I knew you were going to say the Lions though, because they grinded it out, but like they did in the sense where they were still holding on to, like the management was still holding on to what they picked, because they were like, it's okay, I'm giving you this time. And that's just something that not many franchises do, is give you that time, right? So
yeah, definitely. Now, so I'm going to cheat here. I'm going to ask for your predictions for the playoffs that's left standing upon us this week. So I'll start off with the Commanders and Lions.
Okay.
I think what you have there.
I mean, I would love the Commanders to win. I think everybody would love that, but I would more so love seeing the Lions beat the Chiefs in the Super Bowl if they get there. So I'm going to pick the Lions.
So you have the Lions? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Speaking of the Chiefs, it's Chiefs and Texans. Who do you have there?
Yeah. I feel like if the Texans defense repeat what they did last week, this could be better, because Patrick is a little like he's lackluster offensively, but it's in Kansas City. That's just the most annoying part. So I guess I'm going to have to say the Chiefs. But if the Texans win, that would be fantastic.
Okay. Okay. So you got Kansas City. All right. And then we have Eagles and Rams.
How do you feel about this game? We're going to talk about it on Sunday, everybody. On
Dog, I don't know, man.
Yeah. So.
I think we're fine, honestly. But if you're asking me if this is going to be considered like oh, we're going to run them out the building like how they did to the Vikings last week, absolutely not. I think this is going to be a 1-score game. Same way I thought about the Packers game last week. Like I thought it was going to be a 1-score game where two offenses are going to be very effective. But I ain't going against my team by default. But even if I took the fan element outside of it, would it shock me if the Rams won this game? No. But do I realistically think that they will? Probably not. Because Eagles still have the better roster, if that makes sense.
Do they though? Is Kyron Williams not elite and Puka Nacua your man? You were hyping him up.
I love them both. I really do. But there's like 1A and 1B.
Yeah.
There is Saquon and then there's Kyron. There is AJ Brown, who, by the way, I don't know how you can have a book to sell out in a matter of a few moments. So
I mean, dude, I was gonna buy
it. So incredible. You have him, and then you have Puka. Now you could say that those are kind of like a toss-up, if you will. But I think the determining factor, believe it or not, is Dallas Goedert, Devontae Smith, versus Cooper Kupp, who they're not even factoring into the offense. Like he only had 1 catch last week. So I don't know. It's hard for me to factor in the rest of the Rams offense when it's been consistent of, running the football effectively, Matt Stafford getting the ball to Puka, and then that's about it. Like, I don't know.
I feel like this is one of the harder games to choose, but I think the Eagles will win because of AJ Brown. Like, whenever he's a drama queen, and I feel like reading the book on the sidelines, like low-key little drama queen, he is fed. He is eating down the field. He's getting a 40-yard bomb. Like, those are the games that, like, Jalen and him or whatever happens in the week, AJ's like, hey, man, sorry to pull attention on me again, but I need
Give
the ball.
Me the ball.
Yes. And that's the only reason I think the Eagles will win. But if I'm completely wrong, I think the same as you. This will be a 1-score game. The Rams defense is so good, but the Eagles defense is like the 1A, just like you said. It's like Eagles 1A, Rams 1B. So
yeah. And then lastly, I'm so excited for this game. Buffalo, Baltimore, in Buffalo. Who do you have?
Yeah, I'm gonna pick Buffalo.
You have Buffalo. Okay.
And this one, I obviously answered it faster than the other 3. I just think the Ravens defense, like Josh Allen is on an entirely different wavelength right now. Like, that hill I was talking about, he ran through it. He is like, there is literally no one and nothing stopping me. Because he wants to see Patrick Mahomes again. He wants to prove that like he can beat him in the playoffs. So that's the only reason I'm picking the Bills. And it's unfortunate. I mean, who doesn't want Lamar to succeed? But then he faces Patrick Mahomes again, right? It's like the one guy always stopping you from getting to the Super Bowl is the same every year.
Dang, sounds like a guy that used to play for Chicago back in the day. I don't know. He has a name. It rhymes with Trickle Morton. I think that's where I'm going with here. Yeah, I it's a toss up. I have a podcast that I do outside of this where the co-host I have is a Ravens fan, and all week long he's like, this is our time. It's destiny. The Ravens, they could win it. Lamar's 28. You know what the stats say about Ravens quarterbacks when they turn 28, they win the Super Bowl. And I
did not know that. I need to look that up.
Yeah, I'm like, oh my God, I hear you, but there's a guy that you have to face by the name of Josh Allen who is no joke.
Yeah.
Like, he's like, man, like the defense is playing a lot better. I'm like, I hear you. I do. I promise you I do. I'm like, I don't think people are recognizing James Cook a lot. Like, did y'all see what he did to Denver last week?
Yeah.
Like, That was
And all
incredible.
season, right?
Yeah, and he's been doing it all year, right?
Yeah.
So it's like I see him, I see Cook. They didn't even involve Amari Cooper, which is an issue for me because this has been going on for a little while now. But like you have questions about the defense still because even though they shut down Denver's offense, it was kind of like, yeah, they were kind of too young to be there in the first place. So you're kind of like, being the big adult in a house full of little kids, like duh. I kind of expect for you to assert yourself in that regard. But Baltimore is not Denver. But at the same time, Buffalo is not Pittsburgh.
Yeah, for sure.
Do we understand that? So, it's one of those things where it's kind of tricky to gauge who wins this game. It's hard. I might have to go with Baltimore to pull off yeah. I might have them pull it off on the road. But like I said, man, this is a toss-up game. Like if Buffalo wins this game, it would not shock me at all because I know what I know. I know what I've seen, and Josh Allen playing the way that he's played this year has been incredible. It's been remarkable.
I mean, both of them have Patrick Mahomes' picture in the locker room. You know what I mean?
Yes.
There's one goal here.
So that's what I wanted to ask you this too. So, and I've seen this a lot. Do you think whoever wins this game determines who wins MVP? Does that change or alter who wins MVP for you?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
I feel like both of the performances from those quarterbacks have been phenomenal. I mean, it's almost like when people were talking about Joe Burrow, like they had to put everything on their back. Josh Allen ran in and threw himself a touchdown. Like he's doing so many dynamic things to win these games. And the same is true for Lamar. Like if your mom is yelling at you to keep running, you're the sole person that can win these games, right?
Yeah.
I feel like that's so funny whenever he brings his mom up. I love it. So I don't think so.
Okay. Do you have an MVP set in mind, or are you undecided still?
I think statistically and like Lamar having the rushing yards that he has on the season compared to everybody else is unreal. But I feel like MVP is kind of, it's not the same as it used to be when you're describing football players and like how the seasons go on. Like, why isn't Saquon the MVP? He completely changed that Eagles offense. He's changed as a player. He's changed as a running back. He's changed like what that position looks like in the league for this season, right? Like running backs were kind of getting a lot of slack. They weren't getting paid. And then Saquon and Derrick Henry, of course, side by side, but Saquon's 1A, 1B, like we keep saying. So I just feel like the MVP title is a little hard to just always hand to a quarterback because like I think Joe Burrow tried everything in his willpower to get them where he could, and he was still getting sacked 4 to 5 times day in and day out, and he was still throwing bombs, right? Like having high scoring games against these elite defenses because he's still trying to win by himself. So I don't know. I think MVP is like really hard. It's like the determination of what we're basing things off of it's changed so much. Like every year, I feel like the seasons are just so different than from what they were before. But in what we are now, I do like having Lamar and Josh Allen as close as they are in the favorites because, like I said, I mean, like we've all seen, they've been completely lights out for themselves and for the quarterback position.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. What do you think about the MVP? Am I all the way out here?
No, you're not. I think because I think it's been changed over the years, like you said, because kind of similar to the NBA. Like I remember it was like the best player on the best team.
Yeah.
With the, like amazing stats. Like that's the guy who won it. And there was no conversation about it. I don't know if you could say the NBA is kind of ruined the whole MVP conversation throughout all of sports. But they kind of did. Because I feel like the moment that now, granted, giving it to Russell Westbrook in 2017 was definitely deserved because no one's ever been able to
For sure.
average a triple double, right?
Yeah.
But he was still a 6 seed at the end of the day. And then he got bounced in the first round, I believe, or something like that. So it was like all these different parameters, but yet he still got MVP. And I feel like ever since then, it was kind of like, so are we rewarding the narrative or are we rewarding the stats? So are we rewarding the best team? And it's like all these different factors. So I say that to say, when it comes to the NFL, I feel like the NFL's issue is we have so many problems with fatigue with certain players. Like, obviously, Patrick Mahomes did not play well this year, right?
Mhm.
So we don't put him in the conversation. But there's been plenty of years in the past where he's had, like one of the best seasons of any quarterback in NFL history. And it's like, you know what? We're going to give it to someone else.
Yeah.
It can't be you. And it was the same thing with Tom Brady and, Peyton Manning and things of that nature. So so the NFL has an issue with fatigue in its awards.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like because of that sentiment, what bothers me about Josh Allen and Lamar is that would have to come to ruse again, where Lamar has already won 2 MVPs. So if he just wins another one, like, it's like, man, we're just, Lamar wins MVP, LOL. Like, is that what we're going to do?
And then you might lose in the divisionals.
Yeah. Or even with you losing the divisional round, like, we're still going to give it to you.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of the argument that Josh Allen people are using. Like, it's like, just let it. But if Josh Allen gets it, like, it's kind of like a sympathy award. Like, it's like, we really feel like Lamar deserves it, but Lamar's been winning it a lot already, so we kind of want to give you one. So it's like a here damn moment. Like, here, damn, get out my face. Here, you're the MVP. Move. But I don't know. I'm weary that we are. It might be one of those cases again where Josh Allen wins it, and not because of the fact that he was a better quarterback than Lamar this year.
He was truly the most valuable player on that Buffalo Bills team. Like,
and that's the thing, though, right? Like, literally, we thought at the beginning of the year, I thought Buffalo was going to take a back seat. Like, we was just like, you know what? Hey, you lose Stephon Diggs. I have so many question marks about your defense. Your offensive line is a little sketchy. Still, I'm not sure about James Cook. Like, you don't have weapons around you. Have all these question marks, and yet he's able to do what he's been able to do.
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't know. I'm a little bit iffy on it. I am not mad on whoever wins it. I am personally hurt that a guy who ran for 2,000 yards is like not even in this altogether. But that's only because I'm a fan of him and he plays on my team.
I mean, I'm a fan too. I think that when you see someone go from one of the worst franchises and come to another one and prove that they were the most important player that essentially from the previous franchise, I think that should be talked about. But Josh Allen has literally been a one-man show, and I feel like that is like the 1 point factor between him and Lamar.
Definitely. Absolutely. Ashmere, it is a pleasure to conduct this wonderful interview with you. This was amazing. I appreciate all the insight that you brought to the table. It's greatly appreciated. I don't take it for granted. I appreciate everybody who's watched, who's got a chance to hear from her and hear her story. Lastly, before we go, what is the goal that you want to achieve by the time that 2025 is over in regards to this profession?
Ooh, well, I was making my vision board last night, and I was thinking I'd like to gain a nice following on social media, and just continue to like express myself in storytelling. So whether that's in the women's sports space, in the South Asian sports space, I just want to be able to highlight people that are doing great things and also make some money off of it. I mean, duh.
Right.
But yeah, definitely just work on the skills that I want to as an interviewer throughout 25, and then get the opportunities to put those skills in action and grow my social following. I feel like those are my top two.
Okay. Well, you know what we do. We hold each other accountable to it. So I'm gonna hold you to it. But Ashmere, thank you so much for joining me. Let everybody know where they can follow you at, so we can at least accomplish one of those goals already. Where can they follow you at on all your socials?
My TikTok, if it's still here, is my name, Sports with Shmere. Same with my Instagram, Ashmere Prasad, and X is Ashmere Prasad. So I don't think there's another one. I think you'll find me.
Cool beans. Awesome. Well, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, this has been a very special edition of the Off the Dome show. I am your host, Thomas Brown Jr. You see the username down there, _ terrific Tom _ because it's infinite around here. That's what we do. On Instagram, on X. Let me see. I have a lot on my plate this weekend. Let me see. We got a recap show tomorrow of the divisional games. And then I have Moving the Chains on Sunday. And then I think I can breathe. I think.
Okay.
I think I can breathe. I can inhale, exhale. But yeah, obviously Off the Dome every Friday, 1 p.m. Eastern time. Next week we will be joined by Brock Vieira once again. Very excited to have him back in the fold. Gonna be some good stuff. And yeah, man, that's where you can follow us. Follow, like, share, and subscribe on all Team MBS Media social platforms. We have one of those platforms leaving us or not leaving us, depending on how much money is being invested into it. Yeah, we didn't have to put that out there, but it's the truth. And yeah, we have our website, teammbsmedia.com, Instagram, Team MBS Media, X, Team MBS Media, on Twitch, Team MBS Media, and of course on YouTube, Team MBS Media. So we're covered. We have a lot of content brewing for you that'll be out this weekend for the playoffs and many more to come. And we greatly appreciate all that we're able to watch and to be a part of this episode. Greatly appreciate you. And fly, Eagles, fly. Does the Raiders have a phrase?
No.
Oh, y'all suck.
Just the Raiders.
Oh, okay. So it's the Raiders. Oh, yeah. God. Yeah.
With a lot of A's in it.
Yeah. Y'all got to come up with something on that, man. That's crazy. But yeah, fly, Eagles, fly, Raiders. And we will see you next time, baby. Thank y'all so much for joining us.
Thank you.